Lots of people, and I've probably said it myself in the past, they think of their dream and they're like, oh, one day. But one day never comes unless you take action and make it happen. And you are going to go through struggles making that happen and making that dream a reality. But you'll also go through struggles if you don't do it. And you're just going to go through the struggle of regret and wondering what if. And one day just never comes.
I've been kicked out from my house because for the COVID I lost my job. The ticket to come back to Italy, they were too expensive. They were like $10,000. We've been sleeping on the floor for like 2 nights, just covering us with a jacket. I felt very sad for humanity in that moment because I was like, outside there is a pandemic. My family is on the other side of the world. I don't have a house where to go. I was in a state of depression, far away, and just this feeling of duty of survival in this pandemic, and that was actually the most discomfort part of my life.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on the Destination Happiness podcast. Today I am joined with my friend Aurora.
Hello. We are on the beach in Arley Beach. Thank you. I'm very happy. I feel very grateful to be here with you.
Me and Aurora met in Brisbane in 2022. We were living in the same hostel in Nomads in Brisbane. We were the long-termers, weren't we?
Yes, I was working there. I think you were working too, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing cleaning in the hostel for like a few months to just have free accommodation. So after I could travel on the north of Queensland, and actually it was Arley Beach, and now is the place where I am living.
And I am also living in Arley Beach, so we've decided to meet up again. We've done lots of painting and things like that, catching up, going to the beach, going to the park and just chilling out together and stuff, so it's nice to be here with you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here with you as well. I'm just so grateful because we are living our dreams, and that's why actually we are here together, because we have dreams in common and we manifested that to get through a lot of challenges that brings us where we want to be. And now when we met, we find each other connecting also through the fact that we feel stuck. And we are like, how could we feel stuck if we are living our dreams? And the answer is actually a question. And it is, what's next?
It is what's next. It's something that we've been thinking about and discussing for the past few days. So we wanted to just come on here and just talk about the importance of struggles and how we actually came to be here in the first place, living in the other side of the world, doing things that we thought were unimaginable before we stepped out of our comfort zone. And we just wanted to talk with you about what we're doing, why we're doing it, the importance of struggle and how it's not always easy. It's actually quite uncomfortable doing the things that we do, traveling, living abroad, etc. And also thinking about what's next. Once you've achieved your dreams, once you've hit your goals and achieved your targets, thinking about, okay, now what do we want to do? Because sometimes you achieve something and you kind of need to take a step back to look behind you and see how far you've come.
Yeah.
And then think about, okay, so now I've done this, now what? And that's kind of what we've both been thinking about. When life is a plateau, there's nothing to decipher the ups from the downs, and that means that there are never moments to experience peak happiness. Like most people, you'll experience highs of life, and then you'll experience maybe not having such a great time, the lows of life. And that's pretty normal. And I think sometimes, like when you're in a bit of a lull, if you're not having the best of times, it just means that good times will be coming. And to appreciate those peaks, because if life was a plateau, if you were just living the same level of happiness constantly or unhappiness, then you won't have the ups at all.
Yeah, you kind of get stuck into the loop.
The dreaded loop.
Yes. You get stuck into this loop of habits, emotion, and thoughts, and there is this repeating loop that we just get stuck with it.
There are always struggles in life, and you have to choose what struggles you're willing to go through to live the life you want. You have a choice of whether you want the struggle and pain of stepping outside of your comfort zone and putting yourself in new and uncomfortable situations with the probability that you're going to experience wonderful things on the other side, or the struggle of doing something you don't want to be doing, whether that's working in an unfulfilling job with people you don't like, or never leaving the hometown you grew up in to go and explore the world for no particular reason other than you're scared of the unknown and would rather a miserable certainty.
I'm thinking about my hometown when I decided just to leave, because I received so many questions from everyone, and one of the most common question it was, aren't you afraid of just leaving what you know, and why are you doing that? And my answer were always the same: no, I'm not afraid, and just why not? Why I should not doing what I feel like and go and explore? I realized later in my travel that actually that was very necessary for my self-growth, because if I was just going to be the person that everyone were expecting me to be, so be happy with buying one house, one car, having a 9 to 5 job, it was just something that I didn't want it, but everyone were expecting me to do in my town. And coming to Australia just opened my mind to other realities and how we can actually live our best life ever, all the time.
For sure, and I had the exact same thing. Like, I had a good job, I had a car, I had a house, which I lived in for like 3 weeks before I realised that that wasn't for me. Like, I had a boyfriend, and there's just like on paper, like we talked about this list, like this little white list that is like the list of happiness, and once you've checked off all the boxes, then that's like what you need in order to be happy. When really, like, we did all that and we just weren't happy at all, and it was these expectations that you should have that and that will fulfill you that was probably the worst thing ever. And it wasn't until I had it all and realised that actually this is probably the most miserable I've been, because I should have been happy and I didn't really know what else I needed. I didn't know what was missing from the equation, and then I realised that actually none of this is what makes me happy, and that's why I decided to go travelling. Most people would rather choose uncomfortableness over uncertainty, and that's exactly why they never leave their comfort zone. It's why people live narrow lives and miss out on the opportunity to explore the world and what life has to offer.
We grew up in a place, and when we're born we take for granted that that's the only way of living, and as you say, it's kind of being installed in ourselves, this list of happiness that we believe we need to cross to get the actual happiness. But since I'm traveling, I just realized that the happiness is just do what you really feel to do. But to get to that point, you need to get out of the comfort zone, the things that you get used to do before, so you can explore a new way of living and also a new way of being itself.
Were your family quite accepting of the fact that you wanted to travel, or did you tell them that you were going to live abroad, or was it kind of like, oh, I'll go for a few months and then I'll come back?
I said, I'm going for 1 year and see what's happening. And this year I've been in Italy to visit my family for 4 months after 4 years that I'm living in Australia. And my mom openly said to me, yeah, if I knew that you would have gone for this long time, I would have not said to you to leave. And I was like, oh, Mom, that's emotional. But it was the best decision ever, and I wasn't expecting to be just finding my real life on the other side of the planet. And I want to, for my future, I just want to keep going as I am doing right now. So living what I want to do, but also being there for my family because that's also something that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's difficult. And when I left the UK, I said to my friends and family, like, oh, I'll be gone for a few months and then I'll come back. And I said a joke. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be a few years. And it was only a few weeks ago that it marked 2 years since I left the UK. And now I just have no intention of going back because... Like, the hardest part is actually leaving, but once you've left, you realise that there was actually nothing to be afraid of. And when, I don't know if you found this, but when you go back, like, do you feel like you're expected to be your old self again, but really, like, you're not that person anymore? And it's like your family try and fit you back in and mould you into, like, the box that you left from, and you're like, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah, it was very funny because this time that I came back home, openly my father said to me, I think, Aurora, I'm getting to know you again for the first time. And I was like, oh, thanks God, because that means I evolved in the time that I've traveled around and I wasn't just stagnant in my old patterns and my old routines. And I received some concern from also other family member and friends that they were like, wow, Aurora, I really don't recognize you anymore. You're so different. Someone even said that I lost myself, and I was like, yeah, thanks God I lost myself so I could find myself again. Like, yeah, that's what actually is the best part of traveling, discovering not just the world, but discovering yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think when you move to the other side of the world, like, you're not surrounded by the people who know you. Like, you're a complete stranger to everyone. And that means that you can be whoever you want to be. You can be confident without anyone thinking, oh, like, you're the shy person. Like, where did you get this confidence from? Like, you can go and explore new things, new activities, like, wear different clothes and just explore, explore, like, who you actually are.
Without the judgment, without the fear of judgment from others that actually after became our own judgment. But when we feel good with ourselves, we realize that those judgments were never ours. Like, we were just projecting the judgment that we receive and we gave to others towards us, and that is what is causing the most unbalanced feelings within ourselves. And getting through the uncomfortable situation is what actually is getting you to get a balance within yourself, because it's just up to you at the point of the uncomfort. You are in this choice point where you can still act in the same way you acted before and keep repeating this loop of just like suffering and learning through pain. But when you realize that there is this choice point, you can just step into the way of learning through love. And you're gonna love the uncomfortable at one point because, yeah, you're gonna laugh at it. Like, just, I don't care. I don't care if someone is gonna judge me, if I'm gonna be ridiculous. It's okay. Let's laugh about it. What's wrong with that?
Everything you said, yeah, absolutely. When you went back to Italy and, like, your family said, like, oh, I don't recognize you anymore, do you think that that's scary?
That might be scary for them. Not for me, because I know who I am and I am very happy with who I am right now. So this new version, for them, it might be scary because it's the unknown, that they weren't ready for that. Because the funny part of going back to my hometown, it feels like everyone is playing a game, and I associate that with the Monopoly game role.
Yeah.
And when I came to Australia, it's like the rules changed, and I felt like I was playing Jumanji rules. So when I came back to Italy, I knew that exists another game outside with other rules. So I had this more open mind to see the different perspective of realities that we are actually facing in life. But for my family, it was still the old rules of that old game. So for that, they felt like, Aurora, what's going on? Like, you're so different. But they actually loved this version of myself, also because I decided just to be honest with me and honest with them.
You wanted to introduce them to the game of Jumanji and tell them that actually you don't need to live life by the rules of Monopoly. Like there's other rules of life, there's other ways of life and other cultures, like Jumanji, like you say. And what do you
It's just one of a million games that we are playing on this world, actually. It's just where you step into. It's basically the place that you are going, the culture that you are meeting, the language that they are speaking is totally a switching reality situation. Like the moment that I came back to Australia, it was so weird. For example, I'm bilingual, so switching from Italian to English, it actually changed my thought pattern as well. In the first week, I was kind of struggling also both with the change of hemisphere. Like in Italy, it was winter, here is summer. So my body just felt so sick the first week. So it was unbalance between my body and my mind. I had to balance again. And the things most funny was like, why the stars are upside down and backwards?
Why is the what?
The stars are upside down.
The stars are upside down. Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah, that was the first things I realized.
I've never looked at the stars and thought they were upside down. But to be honest, like in England, you don't really get clear skies anyway, so I hardly ever see the stars in England.
Really? Never been in England.
I must have done a few times, but I can't really recall a moment where I've looked at the sky whilst being in England and thinking, oh, the stars look nice tonight. But here, like every night, you've got a clear sky, especially when I'm out on the boats. I did see the Milky Way the other day. It was like late at night, finished dinner, and I was like, wow, guys, like look at the stars. So we turned off all the lights on the boat. We went out and were just laying under the stars, just so mesmerized by them.
Like jewels in the night.
Literally like jewels in the night.
So beautiful. And it's amazing that you are here and working on boats, actually. What is your experience in the boat like?
I absolutely love it. Well, the reason why I decided I wanted to work on the boats is because I was in Hong Kong with my dad last year, and I was doing like a ferry transfer from Hong Kong Island to Lama Island, and boats have always intrigued me. Like whenever I'm traveling in Southeast Asia, I'll always try and do a boat trip to go snorkeling, and it's just been in the back of my mind that I think I would enjoy working on a boat, because instead of paying to be on like a boat for one day, I could just work on the boats and that could be my life. And that was kind of just like a thought at the back of my mind. But it wasn't until I got onto that ferry transfer from Hong Kong Island to Lama Island that kind of subconscious thought surfaced. And I said to my dad, I think I could work on boats.
Yeah.
and he was scared. He was like, what? He's like, what do you mean?
That's very not common from you. Like, that's a very outstanding decision.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw them tying up the fenders onto the side of the boat, and then I saw like one of the guys catching lines when we got to the dock. And I just thought, do you know what? Like, I think that would be quite fun. So when I came back to Australia, I was thinking, like, well, I was living in Dysart at the time, and I was like, right, I need to leave, like, but I don't know what's next. Like, this whole, like, thing that we always think every so often, like, okay, now what do we want to do? And then I decided, okay, like, I think working on the boats is going to be my next chapter and my new beginning. Mm-hmm. And so it was difficult because I didn't have any experience on boats, like only as a passenger, and that, you know, it doesn't really count. I don't have any qualifications. Like my family didn't have boats growing up, and I think a lot of people who I've met who are boat crew now, like they've said, oh yeah, like my dad has a boat, I used to work like on the boats, or like I always grew up on boats, and like it was just completely different for me. So what I did is, like, I had 2 days off work. I borrowed one of the customers' cars who used to come into the pub, and I drove 5 hours to Airlie Beach to do a little recce, scout it out. And when I got here, I stayed at Magnum's, which is one of the hostels in town. And the first day I woke up, like the next day, I went straight to Coral Sea Marina, and I wandered around, and everyone I saw who was wearing boat crew, I said to them, I was like, oh, hey, like, my name's Sophie, like, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, do you guys have any jobs going? Or, like, I've got the day off today or tomorrow. Do you have any space for volunteers to come on the boat? Like, I'd love some experience. And no one, like, people were friendly, but no one was, like, very helpful or anything. Like, they didn't have any, like, jobs to offer me.
I
But-
very value your action, like just go through the process of just being like also rejected. Like that's something that many times I struggle in my life, the feel of rejection also from the job. So this is very admiring to just go and get through the discomfort of just being rejected as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was expecting to be rejected, like, and it was really nerve-wracking going down. Like, I remember my heart was racing. I was like, right, I just got to ask them. Like, you just see someone, you're like, oh, don't know what to say, and it's just all a bit awkward, but you just have to do it. And then, so I got rejected left, right, and centre, but I also did note down every company in Early Beach relating to boats that I could see. So there was Sailing Whit Sundays, there was Red Cat Adventures, there was ocean rafting, and I went into all the shops as well and asked people like in the shops if they knew of anything. And again, like I didn't have much luck, but they did give me some emails. So I enjoyed the rest of my time in Early Beach, and then when I got back, I emailed every single company that I found, just being like, oh, hey, like, my name's Sophie, I'm looking for a job on the boats. I don't have any experience, but I've got these skills. Like, I learn quickly. I'm a pretty confident person. I'm, like, nice, like, talking with people. I travel a lot as well. And, like, if there's lots of tourists on the boats, then I think that I could add value in that way. And I didn't hear anything back apart from one company. They emailed me back. They're like, oh, hey, Sophie. I think they called me, actually. Like, oh, hey, like, good to hear that you want to work on the boats, and pretty much just offered me a job straight away.
That's amazing.
It was so amazing, like, considering how not worried, but, like, anxious I was about putting myself out there, just because I really wanted to work on boats, just putting myself out there, like, that was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I knew that that was what I needed to do. It was necessary in order for me to get this job. And now I've been working on the boats for 4 months. I'm working for a different company now. It's a smaller boat. It's a bit more chilled out, more time to relax, etc. And I prefer it. But that was all necessary in order for me to be where I am now. And working out on the boats in the Whit Sundays. Every morning I wake up to a beautiful sunrise, get to see the stars, get to go snorkeling while I'm at work, get to go to Whitehaven Beach every week, like reading a book on the boat, having no service, and just being able to immerse myself in the moment and soak up the sun and the views, and in the evening watch the stars. Like, it's so wonderful now, and I love my job, and I wouldn't have had this job if I didn't put myself through that uncomfortableness.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you what yourself of 2 years ago would think about the life that you're living right now.
Oh, myself 2 years ago, like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I did have some sort of vision that I would be living abroad and things would be a lot different from what they were in England. Like, I was so miserable back in the UK. Like, do you know what? It wasn't terrible. It was just like a bearable amount of misery. It wasn't enough for me to have to make a change, but I made a choice to change my lifestyle, and like I could have easily just carried on living that life. Like, it wasn't so bad that I had to leave, but it was bad enough for me to think like there must be more to life. And so when
fully.
Exactly, and so like I had this kind of like vision that I would be like happy living abroad, but I didn't really have any expectations. I just, like, when I left the UK, I only booked a one-way plane ticket with 2 nights accommodation, and I thought, do you know what, like, the rest of it I'll just work out along the way. Like, I didn't have any expectations at all. I just thought that maybe I'll just see what's out there and see what happens.
You know, I had actually got the ticket to go and return the first time that I moved to Australia.
Did you? Oh, you booked a return flight?
Yeah, when I bought the ticket, I bought because in my mind I was going for 1 year, but after I arrived COVID and my plan changed drastically.
Were you in Australia for COVID?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I arrived here just on the beginning of December 2019.
Okay.
Yes, so when COVID happened, I was working in a restaurant and they shut down everything. And oh my gosh, I've been kicked out from my house because for the COVID I lost my job, and the ticket to come back to Italy, they were too expensive. They were like $10,000.
Oh my god.
Yes, and they were constantly canceling the flights, and it was also sometimes hard to get the money back.
So you were just stuck.
Yeah, I was stuck, and I lost the job, and I started to use my saving to survive. And until the point that we asked to our landlord if we could pay less rent, because the government actually said that that was an action that we were going to be able to do if we needed during the pandemic, because it was an emergency. Like, it was something happening all around the world, but my landlord just felt like I didn't want to pay, and they just start to take out all of our stuff from our room.
Oh.
We've been sleeping on the floor for like 2 nights, just covering us with a jacket.
Oh.
Me and my ex-boyfriend. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. I felt very sad for humanity in that moment, because I was like, outside there is a pandemic, and I cannot neither do inspection and find another place, and my family is on the other side of the world. I don't have a house where to go. You know, like everything was closed. Like hostel were not available. It was just like very very harsh situation, but luckily we had the help from teacher from the school of my ex-boyfriend that she hosted us. So we had 3 weeks where I wasn't working, but after I found another solution. So until that time I was just working in restaurants, and the solution for COVID was working construction. So I decided to be doing the traffic controller ticket that allowed me to start to work, and from there to came back to my life. And that was a time that I was getting to so much challenging. I was in a state of depression, far away, and just this feeling of duty of survival in this pandemic, and that was actually the most discomfort part of my life. Yeah.
I can imagine. Like, I knew that you like struggled through COVID, but I didn't realize it was that bad. Like, you said that your landlord was kicking you out. He took all your furniture, and you were just sleeping on the floor with a jacket as like your bed. Like,
Yeah.
that's just crazy. But I mean, I would have been so distraught as well. Like, I guess it's lucky that you had your ex-boyfriend at the time, who was like, you guys had each other.
Yeah,
And
at that
then-
time was good to have someone to share the feelings, but it was like sometimes also he was going and work away for like 3 weeks. So after when I got the job, we got to have one house, but I was just working and alone, and sometimes he was leaving for 3 weeks. So I had to face myself totally. Like in Italy, there is the distance of space and also distance of time. So if you feel uncomfortable with your emotion, I didn't have no one at that moment to talk with, because I couldn't call my friends or my family in Italy. They were sleeping. My ex-boyfriend was outside of town, and I didn't have any friends for the first year that I was here in Australia because of COVID. I just, for this, I was in this very state of like depression first, but after I just decided to heal myself, and that's also the part of uncomfortable growing that we need to get through, because you need to face when you are alone on the other side of the world. You have to be the one holding the space for yourself many times.
Yeah.
When the things are struggling, and that's something that also many times people don't like to share and talk about, because it's it's not what the media especially want to show, just like the fun part of life, everything is magical and dreamy, that actually it is, but there is also the side of struggle that we need to get through.
I've been feeling that like the same over the past few days, maybe even the past few weeks. Like this morning I woke up, I wasn't very happy, like I was pretty sad this morning, and like it was my granddad's anniversary for his death today, so I called my dad and spoke with him for like an hour, so that was nice. But then, like he's going to bed, and then I've got the rest of the day to sort of like just sit with my own emotions. And like it's not like you can just go to your friend's house and trying to take your mind off it. You literally just have to deal with everything yourself. And it is hard, but I guess it is all just part of becoming independent, learning more about yourself and building resilience, and just like growing as a person. It's just one of those things that you go through when you decided to move to the other side of the world. Like I see on Instagram all the times, and it really pisses me off actually, like reels like, oh, people like running through the beaches and drone shots and like, oh, look at my life, like I live the best life, I'm on the other side of the world. Like like it is like that, and maybe I do post some things like that as well, but I always try to make the effort to talk about the struggles as well. Like if I'm upset, I will happily openly say on Instagram that like I'm not having a good day. And I think it's really important to just make people aware that it's not always going to be beaches and swimming pools and sunshines and rainbows. Like there is uncomfortableness to it too, but do you know what, like it's so worth it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think 100%. And I've been through stages as well with the social media where I was like just posting what I wanted people to see. Like sometimes I was just posting this fake story basically on how my perfect life was, but at one point I decided to just be honest. But that was also very hard, because when I start to be honest and open up myself, I open up to emotionally. I was not very balanced at that time, and I got shut down from my family and my friends. They were like, Aurora, you are a bit too much open.
Too open on Instagram.
Yes. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to meditate a little bit more. And that's something that actually helped me getting through even more hard situation and helping me through a process of healing. And now I'm gonna step into the social media with a new perspective and just be honest but balanced, and clear of what is it that I am sharing to people. Like I just want to be the same as I am outside of the social media and inside of social media, that I am coherent with myself.
Yeah, that's really important. I think a lot of people will probably struggle with that. It's all good and well, like posting all the good things, but I guess sometimes you don't want to openly tell people that you're struggling, and I completely get that. Like I'm the same. Like I don't always post Instagram stories like, oh, like I woke up really sad today. Like I don't want to share that kind of stuff, but then it is hard to find a balance and to be coherent with your online presence as well as in real life. We kind of do have like a responsibility over our own life and our own emotions. I think life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And if you want something, you have to go out and get it. If you're like sad, like if you're in like a state, like you said, when you were in Sydney, like during COVID, like it was your responsibility to go and get a job working in construction and to go and find a new place to live.
Yeah, because as we said before, choose to don't choose is itself a choice. So you step in the moment that you're like, am I gonna stay in this uncomfort and just keep repeating these feelings, or am I going to take the responsibility and get still in the uncomfort, but taking the responsibility for the outcome that is going to be? Because if you don't take the responsibility, it's like if you are pulling one arch, are you pointing upward or are you pointing downward? When you just don't take a point, you will never get there.
I see what you're saying. Like, if you decide to not take any action, then that is still making a choice.
Yes.
Like, if we both decided, if you decided to stay in Italy and work as a waitress and get a house, like if you decided to take no action to come to Australia, that's still making a choice.
Yeah.
And the same for me. If I didn't leave the UK and decide to pursue something better, then that's still me making a choice to stay in that uncomfortableness. And like I said earlier, like, people would rather the uncomfortableness than the uncertainty. And yeah, that it's just, you're going to struggle either way. So you have to, you're going to go through a struggle. You just have to decide what's actually worth struggling for.
Yeah, exactly. Like, in Italian we say ne vale la pena. That means it is worth it, the pain, the things that you're doing. But actually I decided to change that sentence to focus on the positive. So it's like, it is worth it, the joy of the action that I'm gonna take instead of the pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Is it like what you wrote a poem the other day? It said, are you learning through love? Are you learning through pain?
Yes. Yeah, because like when we think we are not taking a decision, as we say, we are actually still taking a decision of not taking a decision. So we stay in that place. And in that moment that you are experiencing that things, it means like you meant to experience that things based on what you are willing to do and what you are willing to experience itself. So when you associate your experience with sufferance, is that where you are learning through pain. And when you get that choice point as a challenge that you can overcome, that's when you start to learn through love.
That's really beautiful. I like that perspective. It really, if you can change your perspective, then you can change your life, I think.
Yes, exactly.
So going back then to what we said earlier on, what next?
Living the best life ever. And it's already happening. Like, now that we are doing this was already part of my dream. Like, since I started to want to learn through love, I started to make, for example, how can I do things differently? So I made a vision board. My vision board was to have a beautiful, loving relationship with a respectful man, and is what I'm having right now. And also dancing with fire, and this is what am I doing right now. And this is something that in Italy I think I would never ever thought I was going to do it. And that's actually the funniest part of just taking different decisions in life. Next step for me is like, okay, now I fulfill some of my dream. What is the next part of the dream that I want to achieve? And podcast is something that I would love to do. So doing that with you is very fun and uncomfortable.
I will definitely listen to your podcast.
Yay! I'm very excited because, yeah, it's something that I want to do with the joy of doing, and for this learning, doing that with love, and also getting through this podcast with you, Sophie, is just like this stepping out of my comfort zone of not talking. And it feels very uncomfortable but enjoyable. So I'm very glad for that. Thank you.
That's okay. I'm so glad to have you on. And I think for anyone listening to this, what's next for you? I think it's hard to kind of decide exactly what you want in life, especially if you're stuck in a loop, going to work, coming home, maybe going to the gym, you've got a car to go to work, you've got to go to work to pay for the car, and it's just like this cycle. It's like a toxic loop that we discussed about before. But if you're trying to break out of that and you're not exactly sure what is next for you, then just ask yourself what excites you. Whether that's painting, if that's fire twirling, like for you.
It's amazing.
and now you have this dream that you're going to go and work in festivals.
Yes, actually, like the first time I dreamed of a festival was 2013. I've seen a video of Australian music festivals, and I was like, I just want to be there one day. I didn't realize actually that when I was getting through life, I was going to achieve that dream because it was in the background of my life in that moment. I was just unaware that every step I was going, I was getting to get there. And the first time I've been in a festival here in Australia, it was just mesmerizing. I just felt like dreams come true. Yes. And what's next? And next is work in that because it's a place where I want to be constantly. So why don't understand that we can actually work having fun and not just work to collect money to buy what we think is happiness.
For sure, and like that's why I decided to work on the boats because I think it's fun. Like, didn't you say in Italian the same word for work is the same word for fatigue?
Yes, it is. We say like instead of saying vai a lavorare, there is like go to work. People will use vai a faticare. That means you go to fatigue. So works and fatigue in Italian is actually synonymous. And I don't want to connect anymore with that reality. I want to find the work synonymous with fun, like with effortless, with not neither effortless, just fun.
It is possible. It might seem a bit out of reach, but I think the first step is to just take the leap, and it's difficult, especially leaving everything you know. But once you do it, you'll look back and you'll think, oh, actually, like, there really wasn't anything to be afraid of. I think the worst case scenario is not taking any action and just living a subpar life, wondering what if.
Yeah, with the question, what if that time I took another path, what my life would have been? And that was the only question in my life that drove me to do everything that I did. So getting into the unknown and just let's see what the universe have for me. Like surprise me. I want to be surprised. I don't want to just live a life of regretting what I could have done differently.
And I think as well, lots of people, and I've probably said it myself in the past, they think of their dream and they're like, oh, one day. But one day never comes unless you take action and make it happen. And you are going to go through struggles making that happen and making that dream a reality. But you'll also go through struggles if you don't do it. And you're just going to go through the struggle of regret and wondering what if. And one day just never comes.
Just do it. That's the opposite of what if. Like switch the position from what if to just do it. just do it if it feels right, if it feels from your whole body that that's something you are meant to do. Just do it. Don't overthink. Don't get the mind in the middle of your action, because your action is what is going to create your reality and what you are experiencing.
Just do it. Just book a plane ticket. Just start your new hobby. Just do it. Don't think about what people are going to think, judgment-wise. Just do it.
Yes.
What would you now, with all the experience that you have and knowledge, what would you say to your younger self?
Just do it and don't give a F about other judgment, because no one actually cares. It's just up to you.
That's good advice. I'd probably say the exact same thing. You just have to do it. Otherwise, time will pass by, and before you know it, 10 years is gone, however many years, and then you'll think, oh, like, maybe I wish I did do it back then.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I'm very happy. When I went to Italy, I get to see the picture of myself when I was a child, and I've seen myself when I was 8 years old. And in that moment, I just was myself, and I didn't care about the judgment. It was before the feeling of being judged. And when I saw that picture, I was just like, I feel I am now the version of me where that little girl will be proud of. Just like be totally myself without care of others people's opinion, because I just love who I am and I don't need to prove nothing to no one, and that's what makes me free also to take whatever choice I feel right, because I don't have to give explanation from other, because it's just something that is aligned with who I am truly. So yeah, that little girl is very proud of who she became right now.
That's really good to hear. Your younger self would be proud. Your 8-year-old self, framed in your house in Italy, the south of Italy, will be proud of Aurora today. That's beautiful. I love it. So I think the main thing to take away from this episode is to embrace the struggle. It's important and you need it. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It's necessary to grow, and you should not see it as a setback, but you should see it as a challenge to overcome.
Yeah, an opportunity to evolve, to step into this new chapter of your life, or you're gonna still be in the same chapter. It's like you're reading a book and you get just at one point, but how does it go? Is it gonna keep repeating the same chapter for the whole book, or is it gonna change the next one? And that's up to you, because everyone is the writer of their own book or their own stories. Each of us could do a biography, because each story is just so unique and different. So as we are the author, the creator, the main character of our own stories. So we have actually the power to write it down. So let's take a different road from now and see what's next.
A book with the same chapter just repeats itself will be very boring.
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Have fun, and don't care about anything. And I love to sing. You're gonna hear me singing more now.
Good, you can sing as much as you desire. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you found value in hearing us talk about the uncomfortableness and the importance of struggle and why it's a good thing. If you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. We'd both love to hear it. You can send me a message on Instagram or just reply to this podcast episode. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.